Good evening, welcome to the latest not live edition, latest recording of Last Bowl Boxing, joined by regulars. Daz, good evening, Daz.
All right, mate.
All the way from surviving a hostel in Brighton is Sean. How you doing, Sean?
Evening, boys.
And from over the pond, we've got Brett. Good evening, Brett. Good afternoon, where you are, I'm guessing.
Yep, good afternoon, good evening, lads.
Nice to see you all. So we're going to touch on the hot topic at the minute in boxing regarding Turkey and his coalition with the TKO and Dana White. So what does this mean for boxing, and what does it mean for the Frank Warren and Eddie Earns' world? So I'm going to launch straight into it now. Brett's been giving some big uns on social media about his opinions on this topic, so I'm coming to Brett first. Brett, give us your thoughts on what we think this means, because devil's in the detail, we've not had it yet, and B, where does it leave Warren and Ben Shalom and all the other promoters?
Well, first of all, they've had their money's worth out of Turkey anyway, so let's not overly feel sorry for the lads. I mean, Warren, it'd be fair to say that Warren Turkey bought Warren back. Warren was on a bit of a slip slide, and Turkey brought him back to the front. You know, Eddie was forging ahead. Ben was struggling with his signings, and he perhaps wasn't quite going well. But Turkey's brought them all to the table. Hence why they've all been pulled along. Turkey's picked their pocket a little bit, and he's decided to go his route. And his route is just trying to get absolute control of everything. And by using the Dana White model of all under one banner, look, like you said, the devil is in the detail. Like the best fight, the best. I don't think I'm getting a bit sick to my back teeth of saying the boxing's broken. It's like any sport. You go into football and the politics there. There's always going to be things wrong with the sport, but the outside body of the sport is probably getting on as well as it's ever been. What Turkey did do is he's forced people like Top Rank or Golden Boy. He's forced these promoters to start putting on good shows. So, we had a chat in our group chat about undercards and we probably expect too much now from these shows because of the undercards we've been treated to recently. I'll just say it as it is. I've always been a big fan of what Turkey's done. He's brought some great nights recently. But if we go down this route, we run the risk of it becoming a bit of a circus. Talking about, working your way up the ladder, all that's going to happen is these younger boys getting on there now and trying to reach for the stars. It's going to be a mismatch of a model. They're not going to get to that point that they want to get to. Whereas the promoters have been doing that. And one thing that has rattled me a little bit today is the talk of 2026, there being a WWE match, a UFC fight, and a boxing fight on the same card. Now, if that's not a circus, I don't know what is. Will I sign in? Probably, yeah. Will I pay 25 or 99? Yeah, probably, yeah, I will. So I'm a bit of a hypocrite, but that's not what we're in it for. So, I got way more things to go into. I want to take too much of your time, but for me right now, it's not a good look for the sport. I think the sport's had a bad couple of weeks with the Gervonta Davis saga, and then in the same week this come out. But only time will tell. Is it going to be successful? That's what the big boys are saying now. Warren and Hearn are saying, will this model even have legs?
And what they're hoping for, Brett, and I'm going to come to Daz in a minute, what Hearn and Warren, what the rhetoric is that they're spitting out is that this model is going to concentrate on North American boxing rather than the wider piece. I don't see that, do you?
No. They need the stars all over. Yeah, at the end of the day, like I said, right now we're onto a model. I mean, you think fair play. I'll just give Turkey a bit of a slack there, but you think about that card that's going to happen in Times Square. I mean, they're big fights. That we're all going to get up for that card. They're three monstrous fights. So I'm not saying that I'm not ready to say Turkey's bad for boxing. Problem is no one can tell him to rein his neck in because he's like, nah, I don't need you. I'll do what I want.
And there's no governing body.
No.
Okay, coming to Daz. Daz, unique perspective from yourself because obviously you're inside the game as a coach and a trainer. So, same question to you, and also an additional question: what do you think this means for fighters? You've been very vocal around female fighters and what this means to them. So, what do you think this will do to female fighters on all around the world?
I'll address that second bit first. Yeah. I think this turn of events could possibly change Mr. Earn and Co.'s approach to women's boxing. They might sort of, I mean, it's totally obvious that Eddie Earn and everyone didn't want anything to do with women's boxing because Turkey didn't want anything to do with women's boxing. You know, he had the money, he had them all on the lead, he led them where he wanted to lead them. So, I mean, it could bring about a change again, a change in attitude towards women's boxing. I'll not hold my breath on that, like, but it could do. Subject to Turkey, I mean, I think I voiced some concerns about him when all this started. To be fair, and you know, while he's delivered some absolutely cracking cards, what price is boxing? He, you know, he started to do things that were a bit of a no-no. I mean, going into Hamza Shiraz's corner, you know, stuff like that. Basically, you know, I mean, he rung up a press conference with Ben and Eubank, and he was saying, "You must win, Ben, for your father." You know, because it's one win to Eubank Senior and one draw. And I just think sometimes you just get too involved. You know, I mean, that Hamza Shiraz thing for me were a big no-no. Yeah, I mean, I'm not being funny. I don't count how much money he's got. If he tries to interfere with my fighter, he's getting told to fuck off out the corner. You know, it's that you just don't do. But you know, I've seen instances of that in England under the British Boxing Board of Control, and people get told off straight away, get out corner. Not one inspector approached him about that.
Yeah,
not one.
Frank Warren's as bad as well, isn't he? He's getting more and more frequently and jumping towards the corner as well.
Honestly, it's just I don't know what it's going to do for boxing. I don't think one man should have as much power as what he's wanting to have. I just think I don't know, mate. I'm getting the Trojan horse feelings from it. You know.
Yeah.
And listen, he's flashed the cash, and Eddie and Frank and Co have fell for it. You know, it's like letting the fox in the chicken coop, as I've said.
Yeah.
So only time's going to tell on what's going to happen, but I'm not sure this. You know, the way they run the UFC and the way, you know, boxing's run is going to work. And I think it's a bit of a kick in teeth for boxing promoters that he's wanting to put Dana White in charge. I mean, he's an MMA promoter, a very successful one, but he's an MMA promoter, pure and simple.
He did do boxing very early on in his career, didn't he? He did a bit.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, but you can't like him.
Scale though.
You can't like him. His knowledge to what Frank and Eddie and and that know. So, listen. In an ideal world, there'd be one world title for each division. But that's not going to happen. I mean, WBC president I don't know if you've seen. He's on a bit of a campaign at the minute, asking every world champion to post a photo with their belt and how happy they are that they've got that green and gold belt.
And talking about boxing being a worldwide sport and not just from one part of the world, right?
Yeah, 1,000,000%, mate. It is. I mean, it's not just from one part of the world. Where else can a kid from Philippines who lives on a street
Yeah.
end up becoming a 7-division world champion? Do you know what I mean, Mr. Pacquiao?
Yeah.
You know, where and there's that much variety in it as well. It's, you know, I don't know. Sometimes I don't think you need to fix what's not broken. You know, listen, we all have his moans about people getting title shots and they shouldn't. Yeah. We all do this, but we keep watching, and it's a sport. It's a sport we love.
Yeah.
So, does it need drastically changing? Is it broken? I don't think it's broken. I think there's some little things that could be tweaked here and there. But you know, as for it being broken, no, I don't agree with Turkey on that.
Yeah.
Not at all.
So I'll just bring Sean in. So Sean, give us your thoughts on the deal, and also, could this eventually be a race to the bottom because Turkey will have that much control over the commercial side of the sport? It could actually affect purses in the opposite direction to what it's affected them at this stage, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing I don't like about it is I don't like the fact that it's going to be monopolized by one person, to be honest. You know, I'm sure the whole reason we all like boxing is it gives people, well, it should do, give people equal opportunities, as Daz just said with Pacquiao. How many sports can people come from literally poor and you know, homeless, on the verge of being homeless, to changing their life around? Then it just seems it's going to be, their league just seems it's for the cool kids, really. It's going to be for the stars. It isn't going to be for people who I saw on the weekend, for example, at the start of their careers, forging a career in boxing. They'll never get looking in this league. So it's just, well, it's just a disgrace for me, and I can't say I'm a fan.
Do you think this can live outside of the Riyadh seasons of this world and the WBC leagues that's going to be announced and things like that, or do you think this swallows it all up, Sean?
Well, they've got the money, so they can trump everything, can't they? In terms of commercial value, TV slots, promotion. So they've got that. I think it's what, 4 billion or something like that they've got behind them. So it's ridiculous amounts of money. But I think ultimately with boxing, at the end of the day, although they have the money, it's going to come down to eyeballs and people watch it. And the boxing fans take a stand. Will it make a difference? I'm not sure. But, you know, if people aren't watching the product, I don't think they'll be too pleased.
And Brett, coming to you, does this kill small all boxing in the UK, Brett? Because obviously, you know, there's going to be a very elitist approach, right?
Maybe like you said, though, maybe it goes the other way. Maybe the lads, you know, they've had their time getting those big, massive paydays. They're not short of a bob or two, are they now? Maybe the real lovers, like Frank's not going anywhere, is he? Like Frank loves it. Frank will be like Aaron. Frank will carry on, and I know his boys are behind him, propping him up. I'm not so sure what they keep saying about Eddie. Eddie can't not be in the limelight, and I don't see how he would sail off already. So maybe they go back to basics. Purses get back to being normal, and they start building the stars up from the bottom up again. You know, like they did with the next gen and things like that. So we'll see. Only time will tell. This elitist stuff, what's going to happen right now, very, very quickly, all the stars are going to just gravitate to it because they're going to want to get the big purses quickly before it potentially falls on its arse. But like what we're saying there, Harrison said about that, was it did you say 400 billion?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sean, sorry, Sean. Sean said 400 billion. That they can play at this for a little bit, can't they? Of course, they make money, but they can play at this for a little bit. And you know, when Triller started putting all that money into circus events and having pop stars during the middle of the thing, and fight fans were just fuming because it was 2 hours from one event to the next event. You know, if they start doing this WWE crowd, UFC crowd, and boxing crowd, they're gonna have to put a bit of security on in the wherever they hold it, because it just won't match. Just don't match at all.
Yeah. And last one from me for Daz. Daz, if we're sat here again in 3 years' time, what does the state of boxing look like in your prediction?
I'll tell you what we might see, and you know, sort of flashed through my mind when, we might see a lot more of these daft crossover matches and all. You know, these
like misfits and things like that.
Well, UFC v boxers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We might see stuff like that. I mean, at the end of the day, if you offered Alexander Usyk 300 million to fight John Jones, he's going to say yeah, innit?
Yep.
You know, and and vice versa. I mean, these other, it's not just John Jones, is it? I mean, or Usyk. I mean, you offer Artur Beterbiev 200 million to fight Pereira.
Yeah.
They're gonna do it. I think for small all, I think if you took Frank and Eddie away, as long as your small all promoters work together, they could fill a bit of a gap. But I don't know. I don't know what you lads think. I think that now this is happening, I do think female boxing's got to figure a little bit more. I think, they've got to listen. There's another person we've not spoke about either, Jake Paul. If Jake Paul decides to throw his hat into promotion properly, listen, it could be a bit of a force. Join forces, work with Eddie and Frank and everyone. As much as he's a bit of an helmet, he's putting the fights on and paying the fighters what they deserve. So he's another thing you've got to throw into that. It's one of them. I don't think we can predict what's going to happen. I think we're just going to have to wait and see. But I saw a clipping of Turkey basically telling Dimitri Bivol, not interested in David Benavidez, and you know where the money is.
Yeah, that's all
you choose. I mean, that doesn't bode well for me. I don't like that kind of. It's a bit.
Well, it's dictatorship, isn't it?
It's a little bit. It's a little bit back in 40s and 50s with mafia controlling. Controlling boxing. I do think it's just a wait and see, mate. I really do, and it's not great. It really isn't. One man having that much power.
Last one for Sean. Sean, does at the minute Matchroom hold a lot of DAZN production licenses and charge Turki Alalshikh God knows how much for the production. Well, they're not going to need that anymore because WWE probably are the best production, have the best ability around production in the world, right? So Eddie Hearn's talking about floating Matchroom. I differ to Brett a little bit. I think Eddie Hearn could walk away. I think he could float the business and walk away. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he will do that because they always spoke about how it being a family business means so much to them. So I think they'll want to keep an element of that. With Turkey and DAZN, I think I'm right in saying he's got shares or he's got a stake in DAZN. But for the Super League or Power League, whatever you want to call it, I think I've seen that they're going to sell the rights to Netflix, and that aligns with the WWE being on Netflix as well. So, yeah, it's just all up in the air, as you boys have said. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out. I just can't see how it lasts too long, really, but before it all blows up, the amount of egos, although it's big money, it only takes something to sort of throw it all up in the air.
My worry, mate, is we're going to get, let's say, Usyk v Daniel Dubois 2. Usyk beats Dubois, then Stone Cold Steve Austin comes down and stunners Usyk, and then Joshua comes in and pins Usyk, and now he's undisputed. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? It's like where we're going to stop with it.
We're blurring the line between entertainment and real sport. That's what's happening. Lines. So last one before I close the show then. Sean, is Turki Alalshikh still good for boxing as we sit here now?
Just about, yes.
Daz, same question?
Yeah, I'm going to reserve judgment. Ask me again in a year.
Oh, Spencer. Brett, still good for boxing? Yes or no? As we sit here now, knowing what we know.
Yeah. Right now, look, can't knock it. We've got some big fights coming up. There's some big names to be seen in the ring before this potential thing gets going. So as of right now, yes, he is.
Okay. Guys, thank you very much for your contribution. This has been Last World Boxing. Join us on the next recording. Like, comment, subscribe below. Proudly sponsored by LW Liftings and SC Travel. See you on the next show. Thank you very much.